Zach, with this game, you guys are looking to, win 9 games in a season, first time since 2017. I guess, how important is that in terms of carrying, the momentum from signing day with a win here into the offseason?
Yeah, it's always better to go in an off season with a win than a loss, right? Kind of as much fun as you have on these bowl trips, you always remember how it ends, right? So yeah, that's important. Obviously, we did a really nice job. Our assistant coaches, I've failed to mention them up to this point so far, but they've probably been the biggest benefit to me throughout this whole process is how good those guys have done, and they did a heck of a job. We held our signing class together. Pretty much everyone was committed, signed with us. And it would be a gigantic springboard into the offseason to leave with a win. But we know it's going to be a heck of a challenge because of the opponent we got to face.
In the middle.
Bret, I'm sure whenever you have coaching change, your players have questions. What do you tell them about, moving forward, about, if they have questions about what's happened?
What's kind of been new to these guys, I think, is they had been around a staff that they loved, right? Shoot, I cried when Ryan called, right? Like, he and I got emotional, and, when CP and I had conversations, but it's kind of cool to see that, right? Like, you got to teach your kids how to build relationships and how to feel bad when someone leaves because they've impacted your life, I remember when I was a young player and my outside linebacker coach left to take a job at Wisconsin, right, when I was at Iowa, and I remember going through a lot of emotions back then. So I think it's been awesome. I think I did kind of in my own way tell those guys, listen, the guy that hired those other guys is still here, right? So I'm going to probably do it again. I think anytime I replace an assistant, I try to build on what we've already done, but I like to bring in a different, kind of not an opposite, but a different way of doing things. I think in the outside linebacker room, I'd really like to bring something that brings a lot of pass rush value. I really think we have an outside. Kevin had done a great job of building that room. That outside linebacker group might be one of the most talented groups I've ever been around, just in the pure numbers and quality of players. And then obviously running back, with Chase leaving, one of the best in the country. But I feel pretty good about some of these other guys we've recruited. So I think it's been overwhelmingly amazing to me how many people have reached out to me about these 2 jobs. The DB job, I think, got out there pretty quick in the community what I was going to do. So that hasn't been a big one. But outside backer and running back, it's going to be fun to see who I want to go with.
There we go, right down here.
For both coaches again, and Coach Bret, we'll start with you. Was there a play or a call during a game this year that you just had to laugh at? Or, and I know this is a bad analogy, or you've been pulling your hair out?
Yeah, I had pretty lucky. Obviously, Coach Leach gave me complete freedom to call whatever I want, whenever I want, and so there's probably been a few too many zero pressures and some really bad times, and it's gone the wrong way. But yeah, so whatever hair I have, I definitely pulled it out there. Yeah, and I just got to say, if these guys can build upon and improve upon that defense, I feel bad for the rest of the Big Ten because that's been some of the best defense. As a fan of just defense and aggressive defense, the way it's supposed to be played. The job that they did this year, I mean, it's fun to watch. I know our guys have enjoyed watching it just on film because that's how defense is supposed to be played. They've done a phenomenal job.
Thanks, Coach, and to you as well. I don't know how many people know the storyline. Coach Miller, Bart Miller, and Coach played it together back in the day, so I've been trying to get Coach Miller to share some stories back in the day.
I was on the losing end of that one most times. Don't worry.
Well, the question is whether there's a...
Was there a play or a call during a game that if you didn't laugh at it, you'd pull your hair out?
I shouldn't comment on that. I might get fined.
I think I can comment on that one, actually. I don't think, yeah.
Keep the Michigan game out.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I get a couple other choices as well. No, I think the one thing that's really fun, is just being in year 2, and Coach will get to know this now. When you take over a room, right, when you, as a head coach, one of the most rewarding things you can have is player success, right? Like, wins are great. I got notified yesterday that 4 of our guys are invited to the combine, right? So I called all those guys last night, and just to hear that voice, like that, to hear their reaction. So, you know, we had 19 guys get academic or get all conference. We have 10 guys coming back that were all conference players. I think my first year we had 3 or 4 players all total, right? And now we have 10 returning. It's just, it's fun to see these guys build. The tremendous challenge to, you know, at first we'd heard a couple different SEC teams, and then when I heard Mississippi State, I think I got intrigued with. I knew our guys would really enjoy the challenge of this game, right? Like they love playing football, and they're very unique to anything we see in the Big Ten, you know. So it's really been easy to lock these guys in. I don't know what kind of success we're going to have, but you turn on Mississippi State's film, defensively, the things that they create, the movements and the pressures and the design and the return, and it all makes sense. But they got to sort through it, and offensively, for what they do, defensively, it's a hard task for us to see what they're doing or get a gauge on what they're doing before the snap, and it's just a really cool preparation. I think our kids really have enjoyed the process of preparing for an opponent. That's what we've been, because there's no rules now, right? In bowl prep, it's unlimited. You don't have to worry about 20 hours, right? Like, and for coaches and for players that love the game of football, the more you can teach and coach and slow the game down, the better they'll play, and that's what's fun about the bowl game.
Yeah, right down in front.